Aloha and welcome to A Course in Miracles deep dive with Hope Johnson, coming to you from Lake Whatcom, Washington. Yay! Today we're going to be covering the end of paragraph 4 in chapter 3, section 2, Special Principles for Miracle Workers. And then to the end of 5, if we make it all the way to there. Yay, I love you. Let's start by tuning in. First of all, thank you to the voice of A Course in Miracles. Thank you to Jesus. Thank you for lending your voice. That's our true voice. You keep on reminding us it's our true voice. Thank you for your patience in that. Thank you for your gentleness, for gently beckoning us back without any judgment. Thank you for that. And thank you for what's about to be presented today. And thank you to everyone joining. I love you. Aloha. Yay. Oh, I love you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Okay, let's see what is going on here. Are we live on Substack? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I'll just go like this. I go like that, right? I can have two videos going at the same time. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, let me see. Am I still on with you guys? I seem to be paused. Wait. Okay. Someone let me know if you can see me. I don't know if I can do it this way. Okay, good. Yay. We're on. Oh, yay. Okay. All right. Then let's get into where we are here in A Course in Miracles. Yay. So again, we're in chapter 3. This is A Course in Miracles, complete annotated edition, came out in 2021. Chapter 3, part 2, Special Principles for Miracle Workers. And then it's paragraph 4, starting with sentence 4. And up to this point, Jesus has been dismantling our whole understanding of causation, the causation that's taught in the world. He's not making any arguments about behavior. He's not trying to correct morality. He's just answering a very important and radical question. What actually has the power to create? See? See how he's talking about creative and miscreative, right-mindedness, wrong-mindedness? Because if we misunderstand what actually has the power to create, we misunderstand everything here. Okay, if we're living like fear produces consequences, then we're going to perceive the consequences of the fear. If we live as if attack leaves marks, then we're going to perceive that that's the case. Or that guilt does something to you. I mean, for instance, this idea that you're carrying trauma from your childhood. Oh, okay, you're carrying trauma, but you're projecting it right now. It's not from nothing left a mark on you from before. It's a choice now. So living as though separation alters reality, reality has never changed. Thoughts of hate cannot damage what's real. Hateful thoughts mean nothing, actually mean nothing, even if they seem to be coming from you. So Jesus has established a different premise here. Basically, only right-mindedness creates. So only a mind in alignment with the truth is having any real effect. He says it different in another way, somewhere else in A Course in Miracles, where he says your mind is actually blank. Like wrong-mindedness is blank. Nothing's happening. There's no real effects. There are only dream effects. So this is the logic that we're looking at. If something does not create, if it does not generate real effect, if it doesn't alter reality in any way, then what is it? So it's like, does it mean it's weak? Does it mean it's partial? Is it just a temporary disruption? Or is it something else? So this is where he's taking us next. He's about to define the actual, quote, result of error, the result of wrong-mindedness, the result of miscreative thoughts, the result of level confusion. Not about its emotional result or psychological sensation. It's the metaphysical result. And the answer probably isn't something the ego is going to expect. So that takes us to paragraph 4, sentence 4. Its real effect then is emptiness. Okay? Its real effect then is emptiness. So he said, only right-mindedness has real effect. Before this is what he said. Only right-mindedness has real effect. And what has no real effect has no real existence. So now he's concluding if wrong-mindedness has no real effect, its real effect is emptiness. So he's not being metaphorical here. He's saying plainly that error produces nothing. It does not create any substance. It does not alter what's true. It does not generate reality. It produces appearance of consequence. But when that's examined at the level of creation, it's nothing, emptiness. So the ego tries to manufacture meaning by attacking, making drama, guilt, judgment, fear, projection. But when you're not giving it any belief, when it's stripped of belief, There's no substance there. It's just emptiness. That's why illusion requires projection. That emptiness doesn't sustain itself. See, truth, you could say, is full and self-sustaining. But emptiness cannot sustain itself. It requires ongoing projection. Wrong-mindedness doesn't create anything, so it borrows meaning. So when your mind's projecting guilt outward, assigning cause to something that happened before, because of this, I'm like this, dramatizing events, it's not something to push away, but just notice that these things are going on. That changes it entirely. That's an instant switch from wrong-mindedness to right-mindedness. When you're noticing that those things have no real power to create, that's wrong-mindedness. Don't confuse wrong-mindedness with right-mindedness, right? He said that earlier on. Its real effect is nothing. This is why when there's any grievance held in the mind, the whole structure of the grievance will collapse when it's examined. They feel charged. These grievances feel substantial. Right? These are the opportunities, though. One woman shared with me this week that she is disillusioned in her love life. She thought she found the one. She thought she found the soul mate. And then that changed. See, that's what I mean about there's a production on the field, and your grievances, meaning your attachment to the form in this case, your longing, all of that put onto form. When they're examined, they collapse. They only feel charged and they feel substantial because you're trying to distract yourself and make it about form. It's not actually about form. You project onto the form and make this meaningful. See, but when right-mindedness enters and you're having those upset feelings and you're recognizing what thoughts are justifying your feeling this emptiness, let's say, those thoughts dissolve in within your sight. There's no substance to them. There's only belief holding it up. And you might go on for a little while seeing the same thoughts roll around and pull at your feelings. It feels like they pull at your feelings. I mean, really, you're projecting the feelings and then getting interested in them. But if you just keep on watching, keep on looking in this way, your willingness to see in this way will help you see past all of this kind of stuff. So you can actually use it to go deeper. You actually get excited when it seems like something you were attached to is fading away. It's like, oh, that must be a blessing. That must be for me. Let me use this rightly. Let me use this in a way that really creates something that has real effects. Let me use it like that. So if wrong-mindedness did produce any real substance, we'd be screwed. We'd be in trouble. If it actually changed our reality. It's just that none of this changes our reality. It's all based on fear. Attack never produces anything real. So, the people seem to feel bad about something they think they said or they think they did. And I'm saying they think they did because none of that stuff actually happened. This world is meaningless. Only thing that's creative is love extended in the moment. That's what's creative. You are creative. Let's say that because you are love. You are the extension of love. Your belief that attack causes real change, though, is something that hurts your mind and puts it under temporary strain. It's not the guilt causing the strain, it's your belief in a guilty thought that causes a illusion of strain. It's not even real. Separation is just a thought. It never produced any division. The real effect of the thought of separation is emptiness. That's why this world can be given up. The world of form can be given up to the spirit. Let the spirit fill the emptiness with fullness. That's why correction is possible. It's your spirit. It's actually you. It's really you. So when anything feels heavy, ask yourself, what is the actual substance here? Because if you look at it, you'll see that the whole heaviness is being produced by thought. You don't have to hold on to that thought. You just acknowledge, oh, that thought, and that's an untrue thought. And you can, before you know that they're untrue thoughts, you could look at it like this. Anything that produces an unhappy feeling is an untrue thought. The truth is limitless joy. Check if anything eternal is being altered. Is the thought trying to tell you that something eternal is being altered? See, it's projected meaning. The thought, the weight that you feel, the heaviness, the sadness, the loneliness, anything like that. It is the result of projected meaning. Let yourself have the feeling effect. The feeling effect, there's nothing, it's just neutral. No problem. It's not doing anything. When you believe that the feeling effect is caused by something outside of yourself, you just keep on producing a dream of the same feeling effect over and over again. But when you recognize that you're holding that belief, that's a different story. See, you just gently recognize that you're holding that belief, and you'll automatically end up letting go of it, even if it takes a little bit of time. You just keep on looking in this way over time with willingness to see what you can be released of right now. When you are witness to your belief, you automatically start to dissolve the belief. It's almost like it loses hold on you because the emptiness of the belief becomes apparent. Like kind of like the withdrawing of the belief and the emptiness of the belief becoming apparent go hand in hand. It just takes It takes all of the reality that you made the illusion into and it brings it back to yourself. You are the reality. Illusion is illusion. The world comes from you. The projection is coming from you. So you might ask, where am I giving some weight to something that is really empty? And how would it feel if I stopped energizing it? You could just be curious about it. How would it feel if I just stopped energizing that thought? What would it be like? See? So that last sentence again. Its real effect then is emptiness. So before that, he was talking about what has no real effect. What has no real effect has no real existence because only right-mindedness can create in a way that has any real effect. So it's talking about wrong-mindedness here. Error. Before that, it says the miracle is always a denial of this error and an affirmation of the truth. What's the error? Responding to any form of miscreation with anything except a desire to heal or a miracle is an expression of this confusion. What is this confusion? Never confuse right-mindedness with wrong-mindedness. Ah, ah. All right. Everyone's doing good. Okay. We're even on Substack. Yay. All right. Paragraph 4, sentence 5, and it has a footnote too. Footnote 17. Here's the text. Being without substantial content, it lends itself to projection. Again, we're talking about error. We're talking about confusing right-mindedness with wrong-mindedness, responding to any form of miscreation with anything except a desire to heal or a miracle. Being without substantial content, it lends itself to projection. Okay, footnote 17. This seems to mean that, quote, what is made from paragraph 2, sentence 1, being empty form without any real content of its own, lends itself to having false content or meaning projected onto it. Okay, let's have some context again. He just said, what has real effect has no real what has no real effect has no real existence. Its real effect is just emptiness. Now, he's saying what emptiness does. What is made, the world of form, has no substantial content. It is empty form. It's not evil. It's not powerful. It's just empty. And because it's empty, because it has no inherent content, it's the perfect surface for projection. We supply the meaning. We project guilt, value, identity, threat, beauty, lack, importance, catastrophes onto something that's neutral. Isn't that so fun? The form doesn't contain any meaning. The mind supplies the meaning. The mind provides all meaning. It's assigning it. So if what's made is empty form, then the body doesn't have any inherent meaning, and neither does money, and neither does aging, neither does a relationship, neither does a diagnosis or any world event. Empty. They're empty containers, devoid of all meaning. But the ego projects fear, guilt, specialness onto these things that are empty. Right-mindedness introduces a different pattern. It extends forgiveness and innocence. Form becomes a screen for forgiveness and innocence. Remember, form is the screen and the meaning comes from the mind. So this doesn't mean nothing matters. It means the meaning isn't located in the form. Meaning can only come from content, and the mind is the only content. What is made, quotes from A Course in Miracles, what is made, end quote, has no real content. Only what is created has content. So projection fills empty form with false content. That's how illusions get sustained. That's how this world ends up feeling heavy and important. Takes away the joy, takes away the childlike innocence and play associated with being alive. So look at what meaning is being projected onto something if something feels upsetting. Because the form itself, it's empty. The charge you feel is coming from you. It's not coming from it or the person or the situation or anything. Your willingness to see this way automatically causes you to withdraw projection. As the emptiness of the form becomes obvious. In this way, right-mindedness can assign new meaning for you. And notice, this is a fun one too, kind of feel into this. What would this situation feel like to me without the meaning I've assigned to it? What would this even feel like? You know, maybe it would feel a lot more fun. Maybe it would feel like a roller coaster ride without the meaning assigned to it. It's like, whoa, cool, right? So this is the mechanism of perception. Form is empty. Mind supplies the content. Correction happens at the level of content, not at the level of form. Form is empty. Back to that uh, the level confusion and not confusing the levels. Let's see what this sentence says one more time. Being without substantial content it lends itself to projection. And the footnote again, footnote 17. This seems to mean that what is made, see 2:1, being empty form without any real content of its own, lends itself to having false content or meaning projected onto it. Hmm. Feel free to ask any questions if you're on live. I love you. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Would it not just feel empty? Well, the feeling follows the thinking. So a feeling of emptiness would follow your perceiving it as emptiness. As long as you're perceiving something empty as having real content, then the feeling is more of a heaviness. And, sometimes people have described heaviness as emptiness too. Maybe the emptiness feels heavy. There's different ways to say the same thing. You could also say there's an emptiness that feels light, but I tend to look at that more like fullness, full of spirit, full of self. All right. Hmm. Let's go on to paragraph 5, sentence 1. The level adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. There's a footnote here, footnote 18. Quote, the level adjustment power of the miracle, end quote, refers to the miracle inducing us to realize that the level of eternal spirit is what is real and that the level of physical events is illusory. The same distinction that we see in special principle 2, quote, a clear distinction between what was created and what is made is essential, end quote. See Miracle Principles 21 and 26 for the miracle as the correction for level confusion. So this is a level adjustment. The sentence again. The level adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. Okay, so we've just been told error has no real effect. Its real effect is emptiness, basically saying it has no real effect. Whatever is made is empty form, and that lends itself to projection. So, this question naturally is going to come up here. If perception is distorted by projection, if wrong-mindedness assigns false context, how is it corrected? And this sentence answers that. The level adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. So throughout the earlier chapters, Jesus keeps correcting what he's calling level confusion. So here's what level confusion is again. Treating the body as if it's a cause of something. Treating any form as if it is causal, it's a source of something. Treating effects as if they're causes, any effects. Remember, the cause is always mind. Trying to fix the content, the mind that's projecting what you don't want by manipulating form. So he's saying over and over again, healing can't occur while levels are confused. Why? Because you'll try to solve a mind problem with a form solution. He calls that miscreation. So he's talking about level adjustment power here. That sentence again. Paragraph 5, sentence 1. The level adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. So he's not saying it's going to change forms. He's saying it adjusts the levels. It restores the proper order in your mind. The cause is your mind, and the effect is perception and form. The miracle says the problem is not out there. The only problem is in interpretation. That adjustment in your seeing changes everything. That's the miracle. It relocates causation from the world back to the mind, puts it back to the mind. That's the miracle. We're entitled to miracles all day long. And I'll tell you what, it feels good. So the level adjustment power, so it adjusts the levels of the miracle, induces the right perception for healing. It induces the right perception. Notice that word induces. It doesn't force it, it doesn't override something. It's inviting the mind into alignment, into right perception that sees things like this, sees innocence, where the mind's projecting guilt, sees cause in our own mind instead of in the form. That's right perception. Sees that nothing real has ever been harmed. Recognizes that what seemed substantial and heavy on the heart was actually empty. Notice right perception is still perception. It's not revelation. It occurs within the dream. That's where miracles occur. But it's aligned perception. It's corrected by the truth. So the level adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. So this is not a bodily change. This is not you getting more money. It's the correction of perception. It's when levels are restored in your mind. It's when your projections collapse, when emptiness in the projections is recognized. And guilt is seen as useless. It's when peace returns. Nothing new is created, nothing real is being repaired. You might perceive things being repaired, it's very common. But the mind stopped misidentifying cause. That's the healing. When the mind stops misidentifying cause. See how this makes the way for healing. Notice this progression Jesus gives here. Look at this flow. Wrong-mindedness produces nothing. It's emptiness. Emptiness lends itself to projection. Projection distorts perception. The miracle adjusts the levels. So once you're adjusting the level and you're in right-mindedness, right perception is restored, and that's healing. Healing occurs. It's like a map. It's like a metaphysical map. So if miracles changed the form, they would be reinforcing level confusion. but they don't. They change the interpretation. And when the interpretation changes, your experience changes. That's why miracles are expressions of love within the dream. They correct the mind that's dreaming it. So when anything feels wrong, disappointment, anything, notice if you're trying to fix something in form, even withdraw. See if you'd be willing to allow a level adjustment. Remember what the level adjustment is? The cause doesn't come from outside of your mind. That's the adjustment. So where am I assigning some cause to something external that's making this feeling into something more than just a signal? Whenever we're allowing a miracle, the mind just automatically reorganizes itself. Perception naturally softens. That's demonstrating the healing that's occurred. It's a beautiful thing. You're all beautiful. Thank you for joining. I love you. All right. Paragraph 5, sentence 2. Until this has occurred, healing cannot be understood. See this? The level adjustment power of the miracle. So level of adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. So until this has occurred, that means the right perception has occurred, healing cannot be understood. So until that level adjustment, right? The level adjustment, right perception, healing cannot even be understood. He's not saying it needs to be achieved. He's not saying it needs to be practiced or applied in any way. He's saying understood. So this, basically the correction of level confusion, the restore of proper order, let's say, until this has occurred, healing cannot be understood. So mind is cause, perception is effect, form is not causal, and content, meaning what the mind is projecting, determines experience. Until that shift happens in your awareness, healing itself will be misinterpreted. You cannot understand it. Why can't you understand it? Well, if the levels are confused, you're automatically thinking sickness is a physical thing, for instance. You're thinking that the conflict that you feel is relational, like it has something to do with your relationship with someone. No, it's not that. You think a fear is caused by events. Look at world events. It's an example of a bunch of people trying to have something to project fear onto. You'll think healing means that form improves. So you'll be really afraid to see things that you don't like. So even if you hear the word healing, you'll translate into bodily repair. Some kind of altered form, circumstance improvement, removal of certain symptoms or habits. That's not what A Course in Miracles means by healing. It's not what Jesus means by healing. He's talking about correction of perception. But if you still believe that form causes suffering, you can't comprehend this. You don't understand healing. Your belief in form being a cause of suffering is like a veil, like scales over your eyes so you can't see or understand what healing actually is. So he's not saying you can't heal yet. He's saying you can't understand what healing is until the levels are corrected in your mind, until cause is relocated to the mind. That's basically what it means. Put the cause back to the place that's actually causing your perception. Otherwise, healing's always going to be confused with rearranging perception. You're basically reordering effects, which does absolutely nothing. It's empty. This is why people get so exhausted doing their spiritual work. They're looking for effects. They're trying to heal at the wrong level. This is also why people study A Course in Miracles for, let's say, 30 years. Use all the language. They got fluent ACIM language. Talk about forgiveness. And still look for safety in form. Because without level adjustment, healing's just a concept. And, a concept of healing is not the same as healing. You know when you got a real healing. Level adjustment. It's like, oh, wow, I had all this weight on me because I was believing that that form caused something. I was believing, let's say my feelings are a problem. Let's say that one. Instead of just letting them be, making a heavy concept about things. When you allow that right-minded perception, it makes the way for healing. And that right-minded perception, all it is you're recognizing where the cause comes from, where the cause of everything comes from. Because until your mind accepts that the form is neutral and all the meaning is projected, that emptiness doesn't create anything, so nothing's hurting you that is a miscreation. Until the mind accepts all that, that the causation is always internal, healing's going to be misunderstood as something that fixes the projection. So he's saying once the levels are corrected, healing becomes obvious. It's like once you understand healing, it's obvious. Before that, it's going to seem like something mysterious. So practically, notice when there's a movement in your mind that wants relief from a bodily sensation or a relational dynamic or some kind of financial fluctuation or some kind of emotion. Oh gosh, this is so heavy. Please take this off my heart. Stop and ask, am I trying to heal at the level of form? That's the wrong level. If yes, your understanding hasn't shifted, that's okay. That's where you're at. You're allowing the miracle to adjust the levels first. This is where you want to see. If your understanding hasn't shifted, this is where you want to see. Just knowing that is moving you in that direction. That's the willingness. Am I trying to heal at the level of form? Look, you could be using some form of medication or meditation. Yeah. You could be putting up boundaries in a relational dynamic or seemingly doing something to make money. Doesn't matter. This has to do with your understanding. Are you trying to heal at the level of form? It doesn't matter what you seem to be doing. Notice that you're fine. You're allowed to use magic all you want. It's your actually understanding that it is magic. Whatever it is that you seem to be using, it's coming from your mind. You're using it to make an effect that you could believe has a cause. That's what magic is. Making magic tricks in the field. Again, that's referring to any kind of medication, herbs, for sicknesses, boundaries in a relational dynamic, anything like that. Durga shared that she believes that mind is cause. Then I seem to forget. Yes, those are miracle moments. Those are miracle opportunities. Isn't that wonderful? Anytime that comes back around, that's it. You're not trying to be perfect. You're working within the means you've been given. So that forgetfulness is part of the means you've been given. In that moment, that's the means, the forgiveness, the forgetfulness. See? You bless everything, even the forgetfulness, especially the forgetfulness. You need to have something tangible to forgive to make your forgiveness potent, for your forgiveness to have any real effects, let's say. So healing is actually self-evident. Once you understand it, that's it. So just notice where you equate healing with change of circumstance, and that'll make a change for you right there. You know, as long as you're perceiving a world, thoughts are occurring to you. And if you're in a miracle mindedness, willingness state, you're changing everything. It's amazing because your mind is changing and it's one with our shared mind. So it's changing our mind. So thank you. You might even play with this. Notice what it would feel like if your perception about something that seems to be bothering you shifted, but the form didn't even change at all. Your perception just shifted somehow. You see it differently. Just play with that. Notice the feeling. When you're not projecting that same meaning onto it. Notice it gets playful and light. All right. We're on sentence 3 of paragraph 5. Forgiveness is an empty gesture unless it entails correction. Hmm. Forgiveness is an empty gesture unless it entails correction. And there's a footnote, footnote 19. Correction here refers to the correction of the level confusion that is inherent in our unforgiveness, in which we confuse what was created and what is made, from paragraph 2, sentence 1. Specifically, we confuse our brother's God created reality with the mistakes he has made. When we do not correct this level confusion, our quote forgiveness implies that he sinned, that his mistakes were real and tarnished his reality. Such forgiveness is, quote, essentially judgment rather than healing, end quote. And that's from paragraph 5, sentence 4. That's coming up. We're on 3 right now, right? Yes. All right. Forgiveness is an empty gesture unless it entails correction. Paragraph 5, sentence 3. So this says, and the footnote confirms, correction isn't behavioral. It's not an emotional thing. It's not a relational thing. It's a metaphysical correction. The level confusion. Here's the level confusion again. We confuse what's created, eternal, God established reality, with what is made, temporary error within perception. Okay, that's level confusion. In unforgiveness, when our mind is not forgiving, we look at behavior, which is what is made, and assign it to the identity, which is what was created. We say, you are what you did. That's level confusion, right? You are what you did. So what happens when there's false forgiveness, like they actually are their behavior, it implies that I forgive you while still believing your error has damaged who you are. Your mistake altered your reality. You've sinned. So that unforgiveness is really saying you really did become less real, but I will overlook it. You really did become less real, but I'm going to overlook it. That's not healing. That's judgment. See how that's judgment? It's disguised as forgiveness. It's made to look like mercy. That's why the footnote references 5:4. Such forgiveness is essentially judgmental rather than healing, because it keeps the error real. What does true correction look like? Let's see what true correction looks like. Let's see, like if someone seems to have behaved in a way that was against you, that was wrong, it was mean, it was bad, cruel, whatever. Correction would say, your behavior occurred at the level of what is made. Your identity stays at the level of what was created. So your apparent mistakes can never tarnish you, can never tarnish your reality. They're misperception in a misperceived world. So forgiveness in your mind, when you're extending forgiveness, it must include this recognition, include this. You recognize the behavior occurred at the level of what's made. The identity remains at the level of what was created. When your forgiveness includes that recognition. You know that nothing real was altered, not even slightly. This is why earlier he said wrong-mindedness has no real effect. Its real effect is emptiness. So we have to be in awareness of that for the correction to take place. Wrong-mindedness has no real effect. So the way that ego forgives is like this. You did wrong. You hurt me, but I'm generous. The miracle looks at it like this. What you are cannot be harmed. What you did not change reality. Because what you did in a dream. Didn't really do it. What I thought he did, he didn't do. So one keeps strain on the mind and the other denies that any of this ever touched the self, the core self. So Jesus keeps on going back to the root confusion between what was created and what's made. That seems to be the central metaphysical mistake that the ego is making. See, created again is spirit, reality, eternal identity, the being established by God. Made is behavior, body, anything in the perception, all errors, stories. Unforgiveness merges those two levels together, like they're on the same level. This correction separates the levels. It eliminates level confusion. That kind of separation is healing. Not having those levels together, as if the world of nothingness, the world of material, can affect the spiritual, which is the mind. Okay? It's not saying that behavior doesn't occur within the perception. It's saying that the behavior does not define being. When that doesn't get corrected, our quote unquote forgiveness just reinforces the belief that sin is real. And that's why that kind of forgiveness is being called judgmental, because it's reinforcing the belief. So when you seem to be forgiving someone, you might ask, do I still believe their mistake altered who they are? Because really what you're saying is their mistake alters who I am, which is really saying my mistake alters who I am. Okay, you want correction for that. There's no them out there. When you're truly forgiving, when your mind is truly forgiving, you're recognizing that the error, any kind of meanness or bad behavior or anything, was at the level of what was made. It's not really denying that it happened, it's denying that it happened at the level of creation. You're recognizing that the error occurred at the level of what was made. What was made is emptiness. We're supplying all the meaning. Their identity, your identity, remains at the level of what was created. That's the correction to level confusion. That's when forgiveness is really healing. That's when it's allowed to be healing. So notice where you're merging people's behavior with their identity, with their being? Where are you forgiving while still believing that their sin is real? Meaning you're giving it real effects, as if something is harmed. Hmm? Fun, 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 fun. All right. Paragraph 5, sentence 4. So we just read forgiveness is an empty gesture unless it entails correction. Now, sentence 4, without this, that's correction. It is the forgiveness. Without correction, forgiveness is essentially judgmental rather than healing. So forgiveness is empty unless it entails correction. That's what he just said. Correction means resolving level confusion. Level confusion is confusing what was created with what was made. False forgiveness implies sin is real and tarnishes the identity. See, that can't happen. So now he's concluding without correction, forgiveness is judgment. Not slightly judgmental, but it's essentially judgmental in its very nature. He says essentially. It is essentially judgmental rather than healing. So, in its very nature, this refers to the correction of level confusion, the clear separation between God created identity, the real, and mistakes within perception, what is made. Without that separation, forgiveness looks like this: I acknowledge your guilt, but I pardon you. This is judgment. It's pretending to be kindness. And why is it essentially judgmental? Why is it essentially judgmental, this false forgiveness? Because you believe that a real sin occurred. Real harm altered something, real tarnish, stain exists from it, from the behavior, from the circumstance, whatever it seems to be. You're still affirming the ego's premise if you're saying, you are guilty, but I will not punish you. You deserve punishment. You deserve someone to be really mean to you, but I'm going to be nice to you. How about that? That's actually not healing. That's superiority. Superiority is never healing. It's preserving a hierarchy. See that? Where there's a guilty one and a generous one that's forgiving. An unworthy one and one that's forgiving them anyways, even if they're unworthy of the forgiveness. See that? It can be subtle. It could be very subtle. Healing restores equality, right? And when you know the equality, you know the deservedness of yourself and everyone, the worthiness, right? The right to have miracles occur constantly. That's the equality. So earlier we went over how wrong-mindedness has no real effect. Jesus said its real effect is emptiness. So since error produces nothing, sin means nothing. If sin means nothing, then forgiveness has to recognize that it means nothing. If forgiveness treats sin, behavior, as affecting identity, as affecting what's real, it's not corrected perception. It's reinforcing illusion. That's why Jesus calls it judgmental. See, here's what healing actually does. Healing reveals that nothing real was ever damaged. Your mind has to be willing to see that. Willing to see that nothing eternal has been altered by whatever arose in the perception. What appeared as if it was an error was really a misperception. Healing restores innocence to your mind. Judgment always preserves guilt, and guilt may come in the form of hierarchies, superiority, inferiority, admiration, even. See, that's not something to preserve. So it's really common to believe that you've forgiven or your mind is forgiving while maintaining a memory of injury. Notice when those imagined slights cross your mind, any kind of memory or any kind of identity as a victim or remorse or anything like that. Notice when any of those kinds of thoughts cross your mind and then just witness them as being delusional. That's all. That's all. Don't feed them. You're just becoming more aware when these things show up. Any kind of moral superiority. It's like, oh, there's thinking, for instance. It's one way of looking at it. Oh, there's thinking occurring. When I could be enjoying my breath, for instance. Any kind of narrative where there's been harm. That's ego continuity. See, it's starved for life. And its life depends on some kind of harm being real. We're not being asked to be nicer, for instance. We're being asked to withdraw belief in sin. That takes looking on belief in sin without turning away. It allows a deep undoing to occur. So let's look at the structural logic of this paragraph. Miracles adjust the levels. Healing requires level correction. That's why miracle induces healing. Forgiveness must include correction. And then fourth, without correction, forgiveness becomes judgment. So when you forgive, just check. Do I still believe that they truly sinned? Do I still believe that they did something against truth, let's say? And that's not something to be judging yourself. Yes, I must be wrong or something like that. No, you want to see it. You want to see these subtle grips, these subtle beliefs. It's just like layered on an onion like that. Just kind of like gently letting them be peeled away. Do I feel like I'm subtly elevated, like somehow superior or better? Okay, this is the practical application of transforming the way you forgive. Do I see myself as having been harmed? You could feel like you've been harmed and have your perception completely changed through that feeling. That feeling can be the means. Let yourself feel the sense that you've been harmed, and you'll see for sure that has not occurred. And the heaviness can be released right away. As long as you still see yourself as harmed, healing has not occurred. When healing has occurred, you may still feel as if you've been harmed. But that feeling just allows you to go deeper into the ecstasy. As you see how it cannot stand. Correction has to happen before healing occurs. Forgiveness is the means. Forgiveness, quiet, neutral, true forgiveness, not drama, not generosity, not some moral stance, just clarity about what it is. What is forgiveness? Where am I calling something forgiveness? It's actually judgment. And what would forgiveness feel like? I'll tell you, uh, when forgiveness occurs, it is like a major, I guess one way to describe it is a major heart opening. Feeling so connected, that's when you get the sense, you get a feeling sense that something has been harmed, and you're willing to see it truthfully. When that lifts, it's like an amazing heart opening. I recommend it. Totally recommend it. Thank you for joining, beauties. I love you. All right. Hmm. So we're going on to paragraph 6. And that is in chapter 3, part 2. We are on special principles for miracle workers. Woo! Okay. Where are my sweet? Oh, I see. Okay. Paragraph 5. No, paragraph 6, sentence 1. Okay. Miraculous forgiveness involves only correction. Oh, miraculous forgiveness involves only corrections. So, previous paragraph, paragraph 5, Jesus explained that the miracle just levels. It restores the right perception. And without correction, forgiveness becomes judgment. Now he's saying that miraculous forgiveness or real forgiveness involves only correction, nothing but correction. What's being corrected here? Well, the correction is always in the mind. We know that. The error that must be corrected is the belief that harm actually occurred. See, it goes back to that. And the reason it keeps on coming back around and around is because your mind has been programmed to see it the opposite way. So this is actually part of training. Thank you for joining. So, the error that must be corrected is the belief that real harm occurred, belief that real loss occurred, right? You may believe a real loss occurred for someone else. That's unforgiveness. That real attack occurred. Okay, that anyone's reality has been altered. Those are the errors that need to be corrected. The miracle corrects that perception. It shows that the error occurred only in perception. It didn't occur in reality, and your perception is coming from you. See, human forgiveness, most common human forgiveness, looks like this. I know you hurt me, but I forgive you. That's assuming the hurt is real. That's assuming guilt can possibly be real. Or the offense, whatever someone did, actually damaged something. It keeps judgment. That's why he said earlier in the last sentence of paragraph 5, without this, it is essentially judgment. Forgiveness is essentially judgment rather than healing. If the perception of harm is allowed to remain unquestioned, then forgiveness is not forgiveness, it's judgmental. But miraculous forgiveness, which is what we're getting into in this sentence, does something different. It simply sees nothing has been harmed. The mistaken perception is corrected. Just right, just recognizing it's mistaken correct perception, and all you want is healing. When the correction occurs, forgiveness occurs automatically. You don't feel like you're forgiving someone. You just see it clearly. You see the situation clearly. So, when regret, for instance, let's give a for instance on this one. When regret about the past, about what you did, you didn't see, or what you allowed, the miracle corrects that perception that anything has been damaged. It shows you that yourself was not harmed. Your capacity for love was not reduced. Your innocence was never lost. You know, that's a real important one. Your capacity for love was never reduced. Because what illusions tend to do is tempt you to close your heart. Perception shifts, and it can shift again, and it can shift right into alignment. When the correction is accepted, you get a relaxation, a mental relaxation. That's beautiful. Effortless forgiveness. What is that? Ah, thank you for joining, sweeties. Let me know if you have any questions, okay? I'm checking you out on Zoom and also on Substack. There we are in Substack. Thank you. I love you. Okay, paragraph 6, sentence 2. It has no element of judgment at all. It has no element of judgment at all. Hmm. So miraculous forgiveness involves only correction, and it has no element of judgment at all. Not even subtle judgment. Why is this so radical? Because what the world calls forgiveness always contains judgment. You were wrong, but I forgive you. You shouldn't have done that, but I'll let it go. You hurt me, but I'll be the bigger person. See, all of those are still containing this hidden structure, like wrong actually occurred. Like someone did something and made them guilty. Like I'm choosing to pardon them. This is judgment. Not to be confused with forgiveness or mercy. So, miraculous forgiveness does something different. It doesn't judge acts and then forgive, it corrects the perception that produced that error in the first place. It recognized error occurred in perception. The person's true self was not the attacker. Reality was not harmed. So once the perception is corrected, there's just no judgment. There's nothing to condemn. See how forgiveness is kind of like seeing. It's more like clarity than doing anything. Judgment can never heal because it maintains an illusion that sin occurred or that guilt is possible for someone or that there's consequences. Healing just requires seeing that the separation itself, belief in separation, is the error. Miraculous forgiveness doesn't just remove one guilty thought, it removes the framework that made guilt seem like a possibility. That's why it's healing. So when mean thoughts arise in your mind, that's not saying that you're mean. It's just the mind returning to this judgmental perception. And you're watching it is healing. That's the healing. You're recognizing that that's a judgmental perception. It doesn't tarnish your identity at all. It doesn't mean you have to get better at anything. The miracle is not requiring you to suppress those thoughts. It's leading to a question that says, what perception is mistaken here? Usually the hidden judgment might look like something was real, well, something real was harmed. So the correction would be recognizing nothing real can be harmed. When that perception settles in, judgment loses the charge. Forgiveness is just the absence of judgment because perception has been allowed to be corrected. It's not a pardon. It's not condemnation. It's just truth revealing itself. This is a fun one. Sentence 3 of paragraph 6 from A Course in Miracles, complete and annotated edition, chapter 3, part 2. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. In no way evaluates what they do. Isn't that fun? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, in no way evaluates what they do. So this line, this is referring to that statement from the crucifixion. I think everyone knows it. It's from Luke 23:34. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That sentence is mostly interpreted as mercy toward people who did something terrible. Notice that, right? Oh, wow, what a good guy. What a good guy that Jesus dying on the cross and saying to forgive people who are actually doing some shit to him. Jesus is saying something different, though. He's explaining that the statement was not a moral judgment followed by forgiveness. It's not like that. It doesn't mean they did something terrible, but please forgive them anyways. It meant that they don't understand what they're doing because their perception is mistaken. The error is in the misperception. It's not an actual guilt. Misperception. Why does he say it in no way evaluates what they do? Why does he say that? Because evaluation means judgment. Evaluation means you decide what I did or what they did was terrible. What I did or what they did was sinful. What I did, what they did deserves bad consequences. I don't deserve something because of who I am. Jesus is saying his statement didn't do any of those things. He did not evaluate the act. That was not up for evaluation. He just recognized lack of awareness behind it. See, they believed they were attacking a person. Some of them felt bad about it, like they actually attacked him. But they were just acting out false perception. That's what he could see. Miracles see errors as mistakes in perception, not like their sins, not like someone deserves anything bad to happen. Just like someone acting something out in a dream. If a person in your dream attacks you, let's say, the problem isn't some moral evil. It's confusion about reality. Person is confused about what reality is. Jesus saw the crucifixion the same way. The attack didn't define reality, it just showed misperception. He looked on misperception and he saw it plainly. He didn't evaluate what the person was doing. Maybe one person was stabbing him. I heard he was stabbed at one point. Doesn't evaluate. Evaluation requires pardoning some guilt. He's saying there's no guilt to pardon. There's only misunderstanding. When you see someone acting from confusion rather than guilt, the judgment disappears. There's just no judgment about it. Correction replaces condemnation. Does it fix their action? No. Doesn't fix their action, their behavior. But you get a different interpretation. You see it as confusion rather than guilt. It's just confusion. So Here's a helpful way to hear this line instead of hearing it as mercy, right? As Jesus giving mercy. Let's have that line again. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, in no way evaluates what they do. Here's the footnote, too. How does that keep coming up? Okay. Footnote. Uh, these, of course, are the words Jesus reportedly spoke from the cross. The Course sees this statement as an appeal to God to heal the conscience of wrongdoers, since they don't understand what they are doing. That's the commentary from the footnote. Instead of hearing it as mercy, you could hear this line as clarity. He's saying they believe they're doing some harm, but they actually just don't understand their reality. They believe they're doing harm. They believe they're harming something. Recognizing like that is no judgment. It's without judgment. That you see that they believe they're doing harm. See, in the earlier sentence, Jesus told us that miraculous forgiveness involves only correction. This example here shows what it looks like in practice. He corrected the perception. They know not what they were doing. They do not know what they're doing. And that correction is what removed all judgment. He was demonstrating true forgiveness. He wasn't really giving mercy, like in the way that it's looked at, as if they really did something and oh my goodness, he's going to forgive him anyways. So if you look at anyone through this lens that you have unforgiveness for in your mind, the miracle wouldn't say, they wronged me, but I forgive them. It would say he was acting from confusion about love. That doesn't, that recognition that he's acting from confusion about love doesn't excuse anyone's behavior. It's not an excuse of behavior. It's removing the belief that any real harm could have occurred from that. And that's how the judgment softens. Isn't that so sweet? You guys are sweet. Thank you for joining. I love you. Yay. Okay. Let's see. We have time. Yes, we do. What fun. Okay. We are going to sentence 4, paragraph 6, chapter 3, part 2, special principles for miracles. Special principles for miracle workers. All right, here's the line. It is strictly limited to an appeal to God to heal their minds. So he's saying that that sentence, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, is strictly limited to an appeal to God to heal their minds. How beautiful. So it referring to the statement Jesus just quoted, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He's explaining what that statement actually meant. It wasn't a moral evaluation. It wasn't some emotional forgiveness. It wasn't some spiritual superiority. It was very simple. It was an appeal for healing of perception. Why does he say heal their minds? In A Course in Miracles, the mind is where everything occurs. All the errors occur in the mind. The body doesn't do anything. So the form of the event is not the problem. The problem is the misperception in the mind. Those who crucified Jesus believed they were destroying something. They believed they were defending something else that's real. Well, some of them believed they were destroying something and defending something. They believed that the body defined something. That confusion is what needed healing. So that's what the prayer of Jesus asks for. May their minds be corrected is another way of saying it. Notice what was absent in that sentence coming from Jesus. He didn't ask for anyone to be punished. He didn't declare anyone guilty. He didn't even weigh out their behavior. He just recognized their perception is mistaken. So the only meaningful response is healing of the mind. And here's why this is the pure form of forgiveness. When the mind is healed, the behavior naturally changes. The miracle doesn't try to change behavior first, get them to stop killing people, for instance. Get them to stop killing me. Jeez. It's not trying to correct their behavior first, it's correcting the perception. When the perception is healed, the fear dissolves. All attack disappears. No one wants to attack anyone when their perception is healed. Love is restored to the mind. See, miraculous forgiveness looks like this. Instead of thinking they hurt me, the perception shifts to they were confused about love, something like that. And the natural response is something like, may their mind be healed. It's not a spiritual performance. You're not doing some kind of a show or some kind of a public ritual about it. It's just recognizing what the real problem is. You don't have to even feel affection. You don't have to force any compassion. The miracle removes the belief in guilt. And then there's the recognition. Only the mind that believes itself to be something limited needs healing. And that brings us to sentence 5 of paragraph 6. Well, let me check on you guys. Okay, if your mind is healed, there's a question coming in. If your mind is healed, will there be no more perception of attack? Well, you wouldn't perceive attack as such. It would just look like confusion, something that's ready to be healed, right? Something that's ready to be seen as confusion and not anything else. But yeah, Jesus talked about, I think it was in A Course in Miracles, I'm not sure on this, but Jesus talked about how he did not feel any pain or endure any suffering while on the cross because his mind was purified of guilt. And when your mind is purified of guilt, there isn't any suffering. So you can have the same perceptions like other people. Like you might even get a perception you have a heartbreak or something like that, but you don't experience it as a guilty mind would experience something. You see past that, and even physical pain is an expression of guilt that can all be purified. Thank you for your question. Paragraph 6, sentence 5 now. there is no reference to the outcome of their misthought. There is no reference to the outcome of their misthought. He's still explaining the meaning of Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He's showing that this prayer didn't focus on consequences. He didn't say, forgive them for what they're doing to me. Forgive them for killing me. He didn't say, forgive them for killing me. He didn't say, oh, excuse me. He didn't say, forgive them for the suffering they're causing. None of these results are ever mentioned. Why are they not mentioned? Because the miracle doesn't focus on outcomes. Look at this sentence. There is no reference to the outcome of their misthought. No reference to it. That's what Jesus is saying in this sentence. Because the miracle doesn't focus on outcomes. It focuses on the mistaken thought that produces outcomes, false outcomes from misthought. There is no reference to the outcome of their misthought. That's the sentence. So the problem isn't action. The problem is the thought behind the action. Their thinking was mistaken because they believed that the body was a self. They believed attack could harm someone. They believed that death had a meaning. Those are their misthoughts. The behavior flowed from that confusion. The behavior shows the misthoughts. The behavior is the outcome of misthought. Why is Jesus ignoring the outcome? Like, here's the sentence again. There is no reference to the outcome of their misthought. Well, from the perspective of truth, the outcome has no real effect. Something as extreme as crucifixion didn't even change reality. Christ was not harmed. So he's not focusing on suffering. He's not focusing on injustice or punishment or any kind of consequences. He's focusing on error in perception. That's the only place healing is needed. And the miracle, it's showing the miracle is a way of seeing. That's why there's no reference to the outcome of their misthought. When the miracle looks at the situation, it's like, what thought produced this? Not how bad was the result, not who deserves blame, not what perception needs correction. Really, it's not even asking what perception needs correction. So when the mind focuses on outcomes, judgment starts. That shouldn't have happened, for instance. A lot of Christians think that shouldn't have happened. They're still trying to crucify people that they think descended from people that crucified Jesus. But Jesus just saw that there was misthought. So the perspective shifted. Someone believed something that was untrue. That belief caused their confusion. And confusion simply calls for healing. It doesn't matter what the particular hurt is. So when memories of being hurt, let's say you have someone in your past or maybe someone who's still in your life where you have memories of them hurting you. The mind naturally is going to outcomes, the hurt, the feeling that you had to endure, that instability, disappointment, loss. But the miracle directs your attention to the misthought. It's confusion. It's confusion about love, maybe confusion about stability, confusion about what joining really is. When you see this, the emphasis moves away from results. The emphasis moves into the misperception that produced imaginary results. So it's kind of like you're looking backward to the misperception and thought, the misthought that caused the results rather than the results themselves. That loosens the judgment, that shift to looking to the misperception, the misthought that produced the results rather than the results. That's what loosens judgment in your mind. Yay. Thanks, you guys. I love you. Let's do one more sentence, shall we? I love it. One more sentence. Don't we love it so much? And it's a really cute sentence. I think you guys are going to appreciate this. This is sentence 6 of paragraph 6, chapter 3, part 2, special principles for miracle workers. We are in A Course in Miracle, complete and annotated edition. Last sentence of paragraph 6, sentence 6. Here's the text. This does not matter. Isn't that fun? That's the whole sentence. This does not matter. All right, what is this referring to here? Let's see what the previous sentence is saying. There is no reference to the outcome of their misthought. The outcome in this case is they're killing Jesus. That's the apparent outcome, right? So Jesus is saying the outcome of the mistaken thought does not matter. Isn't that beautiful? This is why this is why he didn't reference it in the prayer. That's why he didn't reference the outcome. The outcome is they're hanging me on a cross and fucking apparently killing me, right? That's the outcome. He didn't mention that because the outcome does not matter. Why does the outcome not matter then? Well, only the mind is causal. Form is not. The outcome is form. So events in the world are effects. They're not causes. The outcome, the murder, you could say, was an effect, not a cause. So if someone's acting from mistaken thinking, the real problem is misthought, not the event that follows the misthought. The problem was not the crucifixion, it was the misthought. So healing addresses the thought and not the outcome. See, he wasn't looking for healing like someone's going to come along, take him off the cross, and heal his wounds. No, it addresses the misthought. So here's the radical nature of this statement to the ego. Outcomes are everything. If it's not going to get me off of the cross, then I don't really, you know, you know. So the ego has us judging situation based on how much harm has occurred. How unfair was this? How unfair was it that this guy comes around speaking mercy and truth and now he's on a cross? That's how the ego looks at it. See, Jesus isn't talking about these outcomes, unfairness, for instance. How severe the consequences of their misthought were. Wow. Oh, some severe consequences apparently, but he's saying they don't matter. The miracle does not evaluate situations this way. It asks one question. What thought produced this? Is it love or is it a call for love? Is the thought, if the thought is corrected, I know healing will be complete. That's all there is to it. The outcome itself is nothing. It does not matter. So Jesus is using the crucifixion example to demonstrate this. From the world's perspective, this is an extreme outcome. That's good. That's what he wanted, an extreme outcome. Violence, suffering, death. But Jesus is saying that these outcomes did not matter in terms of truth. They did not change reality. It didn't change the way he loved everyone equally. Everyone. Even the ones that seemed to be killing him. They couldn't affect the Christ. They only revealed their own misthought. And that's what became the means for healing. So this sentence and this paragraph really is pretty central to forgiveness. If the outcome mattered, forgiveness would depend on how severe the harm was. Well, did they at least feel sorry? You know, whether someone deserved a pardon, forgiveness would depend on these things. Whether justice was being satisfied, but miraculous forgiveness bypasses all of that. It realizes reality has not been harmed, only perception was mistaken. And mistaken perception, easy. It can be corrected. All it takes is accepting the correction. So when your mind returns to memories, let's say memories of something that you feel shouldn't have happened, it's saying this shouldn't have happened. It's focusing on outcome. See that? See how Jesus is saying the outcome doesn't matter. The miracle's shifting your mind to what misperception is operating here. Once the misperception is seen, the emotional charge around the outcome just softens. Because what seemed divisive in your experience no longer is something that defines reality for you. That's the end of that. All right. We have gone through paragraph 6. Next time we start on paragraph 7. We're going to talk about the biblical injunction of be of one mind. I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are excited about it. I love you so much. I thank you for joining, whether you're listening later or joining me live. Thank you so much. You can find a lot more content on my website, hopejohnson.org. Feel free to book a one-on-one with me there, and you can also donate. I have a way to make monthly donations right on my website. You can do as little, I think it's like $10 a month. If you don't like it like that, you can contact me directly and I have Stripe. Really appreciate your donations. Also, I have a nonprofit religious ministry, maybe a tax write-off. So check that out. Oh, open heart, purified mind. Thank you, sweetly. Oh, I love you. Thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you so much for joining all the time. You're such a sweetie. Okay, you guys, I think we are complete for this session. Unless anyone has any more questions or comments, I'm just checking you out. I'll be back on Monday for a wisdom dialogues, which, as you know, I love to share with you. Be back with the wisdom dialogues Mondays, Wednesdays, 3 to 5. I don't plan to take any days off between now and April unless something comes up. Then I might do that. I don't know. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Durga. I love you. Mahalo, aloha, and a hui ho.